their final home game in a long time on Saturday. It will be a matinee game against the Flyers. They won't be back at TD Garden for another 2 weeks after that, because they're embarking on a nearly 2-week-long road trip that will start in Winnipeg and will be the Western Canada swing in Edmonton, Vancouver, Calgary, and then you'll have Seattle as well. And not going in order, just naming off the cities that they're going to be playing in. Judd, that is that's going to be a big trip to say the least for the Bruins in length of time, in the level of competition, and to see where they're at.
It's going to be a serious test for the team. It starts in Winnipeg, as you mentioned, on December 10th. The Jets, I understand they've stumbled here a little bit of late. Nikolai Ehlers is also banged up. Not sure if he's going to be available for that game when the Bruins start that long trip. But that's a team that's gotten off to a terrific start here in the first half of the season. Seattle has always been competitive when they've had an opportunity to play against the Bruins, and then you start to get into the meat and potatoes of the trip. The Vancouver Canucks, they've actually had a hard time winning at home early in the season. The Bruins certainly deserved a better fate in the first meeting against the Canucks. They did everything except score against Kevin Lankinen. But that's a team that's always a test when you're playing on Hockey Night in Canada. It's that first Saturday of the trip against the Vancouver Canucks. Then you head into Calgary. They've been a surprising team here early in the season. And then it's Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and the Edmonton Oilers to close it out. And then after that, you have to remember, so the Bruins are going to spend the night in Edmonton rather than red-eyeing at home. They'll have Friday off. They're basically going to travel the entire day going cross-country. Then you've got a division game at home against Buffalo, a day off, and then you've got an important Eastern Conference game against the Washington Capitals. Now, Alexander Ovechkin has started to skate. Not sure if he'll be back for that game, but the Caps have gotten off to a terrific first-half start in the Eastern Conference. So the next couple of weeks for the Bruins will be a serious test.
Yeah, no question about that. And you mentioned Vancouver. It'll be interesting to see, A, if Jake DeBrusk can score a goal at home, right? Because I believe all of his goals have come on the road this year, including the one he had against the Bruins. But B, most importantly, if Thatcher Demko is back for the Vancouver Canucks. I know there was some talk. He's coming off the 2 knee procedures. I know that he hasn't played this year. I know there's some talk, that he might have rejoined the team on the road trip, but that not the case. And there was some more thought that he might be ready, if not on the road trip, be ready for the start of that homestand. But it looks like it's not going to be quite the start of that homestand because of the fact that he needs some practice time. And so that could land you on December 14th, after the Canucks have been home for a couple of games and Demko gets some practices under his belt. You could see Demko between the pipes against the Bruins. That'll be interesting to see. Another point, Judd, is that, they're 2-1 against these teams that they've played so far this year. Obviously, those games have been at home. You remember the Calgary game was an overtime win. They lost to the Canucks, and then they had that shutout win over the Kraken on November 3rd, which of course was Jack Edwards' night. And so they haven't seen the Jets yet. They haven't seen the Oilers yet. And so, it's going to be a tough test. And in terms, I do want to talk briefly just about the Flyers game coming up on Saturday, Judd. This is a Flyers team that was in a bad way when they played the Bruins at TD Garden, and John Tortorella had called his team out before that game, and they end up coming through with a shutout win over the Flyers. They, of course, lost to the Bruins in Philly that following Saturday, but they've played a lot better under Tortorella. And, of course, Michkov, Matvei Michkov has been stealing headlines there.
Well, Travis Konechny's also off to a terrific start. He's got 13 goals and 30 points in the first 25 games of the season. I think the Flyers, much like last year, and it's a credit to John Tortorella and the players, I don't think that they figured to be in the mix last year. I don't know if they figured that they would be in the mix this year, but that's where they are. And consider the fact that there's such instability in net. Sammy Ersson, he's only played 10 games this year. He got hurt against the Bruins, and I remember the comment from John Tortorella, and this was before the start of the season, and his quote was, "When it comes to my goaltending, it scares the crap out of me." But they've got guys in Fedotov and Kolosov that have been able to give them opportunities to win games and pick up points. That is not going to be an easy game on Saturday afternoon at TD Garden before the Bruins head out and start that trip that we talked about.
Yeah, Philly 8-4-2 in the month of November. They've had points in 5 straight games, so they've been playing well. And so the Bruins will have a test before they head out on the road. And Judd, these national games, man, like I'm kind of curious. Do you, when you're watching these games, whether it's at TD Garden or if you're watching on TV with us up, again, we're recording before the Blackhawks game. Do you call the game in your head when you're watching the game, or you just watch it as a fan? How do you watch the game when you're not calling it?
No, I'm usually watching the game as a fan, or as someone who's just trying to pick up. All right, I need to stay current. No, I'm not necessarily calling the game.
No, but in your head, not out loud. I'm not saying that you got your headset on in your living room that's not plugged into anything and calling the game. I'm just wondering if you're doing it in your head.
No, I will say this, and this has nothing to do with the national games. I want to be clear on that. A lot of times, so like before the Bruins play their next game against the Philadelphia Flyers, and I love Jimmy Jackson. I think he does a fabulous job, and there are a ton of great play-by-play announcers around the National Hockey League. But a lot of times when I'm watching that next team that we're going to play, I will do it with the sound off, so I can just basically focus in on the players in particular, so I can get those numbers down so I'm ready to go once Saturday's game hits. But for the game against the Red Wings, the game against the Blackhawks, I'll watch the sound with it all the way up.
Gotcha. Yeah, see, it's interesting. I always wondered that. It's just like, because you call all of these games and to see, another broadcast team calling the game, I was sort of wondering, what your move was there.
No, but at the same time, I might not necessarily call it, as I'm watching it, but I will. If this makes any sense, I will almost watch it as a play-by-play announcer to make sure that I understand, okay, what's going on? Have the Bruins put together back-to-back shifts? Have they been able to go tape to tape? What does the neutral zone look like? What did that power play look like? Hey, was that a preventable penalty? Where are they looking for opportunities scoring? So I'm still trying to watch the game like I would as a play-by-play announcer, but I'm not calling it as we go.
I just have a visual now of you calling the game in your living room with like nachos and beer here, and like, score! Your wife's like, what the hell, Judd? I'm trying to sleep.
That's the way I did it during the pandemic.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, thanks for taking us behind the curtain in terms of your preparation for the next Nesson game.
No Wizard of Oz here, baby.
That's right.